Hey everyone, Dan here. We are about an hour after market close on Friday, July 30th. We're going to take a look at Matterport today. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that information. Okay, so Matterport, really cool company. Today we're going to go through a macro and a micro chart analysis on it. You can see I previously have done some charting on it here, which we'll go through and then do some updating to. And I'll give sort of some of my thoughts and where it could be indicating that it's going. And then we'll do the same on the shorter term chart. So we'll zoom into the 5-day, 5-minute chart to talk about if you're looking for shorter term analysis of where Matterport might be going in the coming days or weeks versus months, then we'll take care of that in the second half of the video. Matterport, if you're not familiar, came on board via SPAC, formerly Gore's Holdings. I think it was GHVI, if I remember correctly. Three-dimensional data platform enables to turn a space into a digital twin, which can be used for design, build, operate, promote, and understanding space. I don't know if it was this company who was supplying it, but there's some cool technology coming on board that you'll come across if you go through anything real estate related. So obviously apartment hunting in New York City, we've seen the evolvement of these 3D representations, so you can kind of walk through the apartments and look at different things in a 3D sort of way, though I guess it's on your two-dimensional phone. I don't know how it works, but anyway, that's sort of like what popped into my head. But anyway, it seems like it's a very cool company. And if anyone is involved in Matterport and is watching this and really wants to do a bigger dive into the space, the competitive landscape, the business, the earnings, the potential from the business side of things, sort of like digesting it and breaking it down into what we could think of for price targets based on the actual business potential down the road, let me know that in the comments. I'd be happy to do that. I've done that with several other tickers that you could take a look at to see how I do it. SoFi, Lucid, something else that I can't remember off the top of my head. Clove, maybe? Yeah, Clover Health probably. And so yeah, let me know if you'd like that. But today we're going to focus in on the chart only. So let's get into it. So you see here I had this chart that came into play earlier. This green channel that you see here, this was picked up around here on 5/21, and it held this channel really nicely through the first week of July. So it held it about 6 weeks. That's not bad, and it tested the top and the bottom several times. Now, the reason that I'm bringing it up still is because we see this big swing. So this 1387 zone that's plotted here was, to me, at that time, at least that I was plotting it, the lowest price zone that I was plotting, because I felt like the demand that there should be for the stock around that zone should be sufficient. Now, obviously, what you saw was it coming down here at about 1279, which you see captures support and resistance back here and back here. And well, that's not really much of anything, but it grabs a whole bunch of price action here. So it makes sense. But you do see it very quickly returned right back to that 1387 zone and essentially double bottomed out at that 1280-ish area and then had a nice run up. Now, getting back to the channel, we do see that Matterport is pushing back into the channel, and we see this a lot of times. So I wouldn't discount the possibility that it runs itself back into this channel, because you have to remember it spent 6 weeks in this channel, but this was after only, it entered this channel, or it entered the range of the channel for the first time after being less than 2 months being traded. And then, it fell out of it just for about 2 weeks or so. So this is just to say it has spent a lot of its life in this channel, even if it has briefly spat itself out a couple of times. And we see, obviously, at that point, we wouldn't have spotted this as a channel because there wasn't enough happening there to be able to establish the channel. But knowing that it's there now, it came and retraced right back into it. And now my question is, could that be happening again? It strongly indicating that it could at the moment. It has poked into the channel the last 2 days. And keep in mind, it's an ascending channel, so that channel is moving up in price. And so the fact that the wicks are stretching in a couple of days in a row here indicates that there's really good pressure on the buy side. And also, if you see down here, I could pull it up this way, the volume has jumped up a lot the last couple of days. So we went from less than 500,000 in a couple of days, and then we went 7.75 million and almost 3 million on a Friday, which is respectable, and coming off a strong green day. So I would be looking for it to really, really make an effort to come back into this channel. So I'm going to treat this channel like it could be back in play, and that to me is going to be the first best sign of a bullish movement coming from Matterport, which I keep wanting to call Matador. So if I slip up, just know that that could be coming. And otherwise, I think that these blue zones are holding up quite well. These are just supply and demand zones that we charted in that previous video, where we saw a lot of previous supply and demand. Demand meaning as it dipped down, there was a lot of buying pressure. A lot of folks demanded the stock at that price. And then supply zone being as it comes up and it hits resistance, essentially. There's a lot of supply there, meaning there's more folks that want to sell than want to buy. And so the price comes down. So those prices still seem to be holding up quite well. So I wouldn't be, or I guess I would be reluctant to touch those. Now, indicator side of things. These last couple of big green days have provided a bullish crossover on the daily MACD. And why I like the daily MACD is it can be a strong indication of longer term support building. So being in a bullish trend on the daily, to me, I'd rather be in a bullish trend on the daily than a bullish trend on the 5 minute. Now, that's purely subjective though, and per everyone's own situation. That's because I don't like to sit there and stare at the tick by tick by tick every day and make a bunch of day trades, right? I like to take things at least a few days for a trade to play out, or several weeks that's sort of my sweet spot. Some in a few days and some in a few weeks. And so to me, if we could get ourselves into a longer term uptrend here, that would make a lot of the other indicators much easier to digest, because you need to line up fewer of them in order to make a bullish case, or a case to enter a long position. So a really good sign there on the MACD. I'll look for that to continue to spread between the MACD and the signal line. And on the MAs, now we have a slightly bearish crossover here from the 20 crossing under the 50. That said, the 50 is coming up to provide support to the current green candle that didn't even need to come down and touch it today. So if this 20 can come back and recross over there, I think that could certainly give it the lift that it needs to get itself back into this channel. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in the early days next week. Well, on the daily chart, I mean, it depends if these big high volume green days continue to come in or not. If so, it could accomplish that in a few days, but if not, it could certainly take the entire week or more. On the RSI side of things, actually pretty extended up here, which I guess it has made several higher lows if we take into account this run back here. It just appears to have this kind of sad face-ish, mini sad face, frowny face pattern, because that's the more recent shorter term time frame. But what I'd be most interested to see here is the RSI. If it can continue to stretch up into overbought territory, over 70, I'd be really keen to see if it comes down and tests the midline and then makes another run up toward overbought again. That's what I would be looking for it to show that there's some true strength there. And it will be good as time goes on that it doesn't just go parabolically up, but that it takes a few breaths along the way and does a little bit more of a stair step kind of thing, like if it had continued to do this. Basically, if it stays in the channel, that's sort of natural swing of, some buys up, some sell-offs down, but in a consistently gradual upward trend, I think would be really, really healthy and a good thing to see. Now let's zoom in and see what the day today might look like. So a really nice push up here. And again, using that 1387 zone, that's why we plot these zones, because they often can be really, really strong points. So you see it making a really nice leap, a big push off of that 1387 zone, and then banged its head right on that 1642, which I didn't plot that today. You can go back to my previous, I think I called it was something, sorry, it scared the crap out of me. That was just my charger falling off the desk. But that was pre-merger, I think. It was just before the merger was happening that we charted that in. And because I think that the title has something about GHVI in it. But anyway, it bounced off that to the penny and then came back down and settled along the 1495, jumped up, and now is trying to establish along the 1543. So to me, again, these zones that were charted way back when, supply and demand zones, are still really, really in play and accurate at the moment. So I would continue to follow these. And as we stretch above some of these higher price points, if that's the case, then we'll come back and draw some in. Now you see you have a nice swing up here, but it's flattening out. So I'd be just a little bit cautious as we get into next week. So let's grab the next couple of days here, next couple of trading days. So this will show up on the chart when I look back at it. You really want to make sure that you cut this topping out. So this is the thing that would give me the most kind of pause at the moment, would be these. So that's obviously a lower high, and then from here to here is obviously another lower high. So because there's these consecutive lower highs, but generally topping out in the same general area, like within a few pennies of each other, to me that's not a super strong sign of a lot of buying pressure that could be, or that's probably not the way to put it. It's not the best indicator that there could be selling pressure that is diminishing in this red box. It appears as though it's picking up because the selling pressure seems to be driving the price down sooner and sooner, meaning at a lower and lower price point. So that would be the thing that I'd be most concerned with as we get into the early days next week. What happens in that red box? Do we continue to even get to the red box? If not, then I'd be worried about where the sell pressure is, and is the sell pressure moving down, and therefore it's going to bring the price down with it. Now, on the I guess, yeah, we're fine on those. To me, that's going to be the most important thing from the charting perspective. Otherwise, I would just be paying attention to those blue supply and demand zones. All right, well, that will do it for this one. I hope you had a good trading week, and I hope you enjoy your weekend. Again, drop me a comment below if you'd like me to do any other type of video on Matterport. If you'd like me to continue to do chart analysis on Matterport, I'd be happy to do that as well. Again, I think it's an interesting company, and I'm always happy to come back to companies that I actually think are doing interesting things. The question is always, can they execute on it? Can they actually bring that vision to reality? That's the big game, right? That's the whole game. So we'll have to see over time, but the potential is cool, and I like to revisit those kind of stocks because those companies are interesting to me. All right, well, thanks a bunch for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.